Hi, everyone. Hi, welcome to our session on resume tips. So, I'm Sandy Kirby. I'm the coordinator of career services here at Cleveland State. And what we're going to talk about today is 10 hot resume tips, but more importantly, some common mistakes. So, some basic do's and don'ts for resumes as you're getting ready to figure out or update that resume while you're here at Cleveland State. So, the first thing we want to talk about is why create a resume. Of course, if you're looking for a job, you absolutely need to have a really good resume ready to go. But we have a lot of freshmen here at Cleveland State, and probably a lot of freshmen that watch these recordings or get involved in these virtual sessions that we do. So, as a freshman, you might be thinking, hey, I'm not really looking for a job right now. I'm wanting to go to school or I'm working part time. I don't need a resume. Uh, yeah, you do. so, so, we're going to talk quickly about that. A couple of things is what we see more often, and it's not going to change now. I mean, everything's so virtual, and I think people are kind of enjoying some of those aspects. When we look at resumes, a lot of times we have those that need to be turned in with a scholarship application. So you can see these three things under, it's going to say even these applications can require resumes. Scholarship applications, college admission requirements. That one is getting big. A letter of recommendation. So this can be work related. So, say you're looking for a job. Some jobs now say, hey, I see that you just graduated Cleveland State or you're at Cleveland State. Is there a letter of recommendation you can give me? And a lot of times that recommendation you're going to include your resume as well with that. Okay. Of course, the middle says if you are trying to find employment, got to have that resume. The last thing is what I really try to emphasize on for our students, especially those students that are just starting out here at Cleveland State, is it is the best way to keep track of things such as um, honors and awards and certifications, community service, volunteer experience. All of these things, it really is ideal for you to keep a running list, kind of a timeline of those activities that you're doing. So you have them ready to go when you are really submitting that final resume. A lot of times I'll have students that are fixing to graduate here at Cleveland State, and they'll say, hey, Miss Kirby, I'm ready to do my resume. Like, that's great. So let's sit down and I need you to kind of write down, were you involved in anything? Of course, at school or through a club here at school or an outside activity that maybe you did. And that could be, of course, through an organization, through a church. What else were you involved in that we can start adding some really cool points to this resume? And students, for the most part, have some things that they want to add, but it takes them a minute to kind of remember, crap, when did I do that? And what was the name of that event I helped at? And I'm like, oh, well, you got to figure all that out. So, in order to save you some time, if you don't have a resume, please start one. If nothing else, is to start keeping up with all of this stuff you're going to be doing in college. If you do have a resume, obviously pull that guy up and keep that thing updated as we're going along and as you're getting involved in things, whether that be here at Cleveland State or any of the outside activities that you're doing. So you can keep up with it and you're not having to like rack your brain to remember it later. Okay, the second thing is just going to be a basic overview of what you have on a resume. Basic, but your information, sometimes we call these statements at the top, a professional summary, or you will see this picture is on here, a resume objective. Before that was kind of, it would just say the word objective, and it would be, hey, I'm looking for an entry level job, blah, blah, blah. Those are really, that little statement's going away. But there is some different things to put in there to kind of really show why you're applying for that job. Also, of course, it's going to ask for your skills, qualifications, activities, just like we mentioned before. All of that is going to be included on there. So the more things you have on there, obviously, the better. This is another screenshot of a really basic resume. So again, at the end of this, I'll be providing my email address. I always tell students, if you want me to send you this, I call it a slide deck, but PowerPoint, then I'm more than willing to do that. And that way you can have access to some of these tools that we're fixing to cover and to see, oh yeah, that's what a resume could look like, okay? All right, so now is the time we're going to cover these 10 quick tips as we go along here. What I do encourage you to do is if you need to submit any of this for a class or for extra credit, grab a piece of paper, grab that pen, pencil, so you can jot some of these down. So our first tip is going to be, it's going to look a little silly, but I guarantee you it is 100% the truth. And it's going to say, please use a professional email address. So, if you created an email address in high school just off of a whim, it might be a good idea to create a separate, really professional email address so you can attach that to your resume information. Okay. So, sometimes it's just your first and last name at gmail.com. Sometimes it might be you have to put in some numbers and we do say, it might not be the best idea to put, S. Kirby in 1983. That's showing when I was born. But, yeah, because maybe I don't want the whole world to know when I was born. So that can go for both older and younger students. So sometimes just try to make it simple, but yet professional. Okay, you don't want anything crazy in your email address. And those are email addresses that I have literally seen. So the second thing is going to say, of course, I know you know, and especially being a college student, is watch your grammar and your punctuation. Oh my goodness. Hey, I'm in a professional job and I still every time I have to look and reread an email or something I'm about to send out because I can be the world's worst with grammar. But please, of course, watch your grammar. No abbreviations really in a resume. That's not going to be a good idea. Type those things out. The biggest thing that I have to say too is capitalizing certain things. So if you're putting down an event that you volunteered at, usually that first letter of the word is going to be capitalized. So that's something to kind of really remember. I see that so often. It's just kind of watching what you would capitalize and not. The third thing is going to talk about keywords. So if this is a job posting, or hey, again, this can be if you're applying for a university. A lot of times there's going to be a description attached to that, whether that be a job description or a description about a scholarship or something that you're applying for. And you need to pull out those words and put them in your resume. So, for example, if I'm applying for an accounting job, and that job description is going to say accounts payable, accounts receivable, I might need some tax accounting experience. And I've got that, even if I'm just coming out of Cleveland State, you will have had some classes in accounting. But I want to make sure that I put on my resume that I'm familiar with accounts payable, accounts receivable. I've had a class in, tax accounting. I'm still pulling out those words, those exact words, and utilizing those in my resume. Number 4 is going to talk about Google. So it's going to say, please, oh man, I should have put please underlining 5 times. Review resume examples similar to what you are creating. The easiest way to do that is go on Google and let's use accounting again. So I'm applying for this accounting entry-level accounting job. I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to type in resume examples for entry-level accounting jobs. Enter. and see what it pulls up. It's going to pull up some information that I can use, and that'll help guide me on how to make my resume stand out. Some keywords, things I might not have thought about that I have experience in that I can add onto my resume. So here it's going to say copy and paste wording that you can use, which that's a huge no-no as far as if you're doing a paper, right? Plagiarism is like the devil's word, and it should be when you're writing a paper. But if you're doing a resume and you see this sentence and you're like, hey, that's exactly what I do, I could have never worded it like that. Bam, you grab that wording and you put it into your own resume. Not saying you copy somebody's entire resume. You can't, right? You can't. Everybody's going to have different experience. But if there's some really good wording and you want to use that, that is more, do that. Absolutely. Use that wording in your own resume and just tailor it, to your personal experiences and your qualifications. The fifth one is going to talk about how to put important information at the top. So it's going to say call attention to important achievements. Of course, use bullet points, bold font, huge, and put those key points towards the top of your resume. So sometimes, guys, these employers or universities are getting hundreds and thousands of resumes and applications. Okay. If I want my resume or my application to stand out, I'm going to have to make that visually stand out. And the best way to do that is by adding bullet points, by bolding certain words, by making sure, my font is perfect. So be aware of those things because, again, they're not going to read every single word in your resume. They don't have time to, they don't want to, but they're going to be looking at it at a glance, in like 5 seconds. So what can pop out on your resume in those first 5 seconds? That's what you need to focus on. Okay. Number 6. So we've only got a few more here to discuss, but number 6 is going to kind of tie into number 5. It's going to say make sure your resume is readable. Your font, need the basic thing is you're going to see having a 12-point font. Your format needs to be as in general as it can be, kind of a basic format. And because a lot of times, especially for larger employers, they are going to use what is called an applicant tracking system. And those systems is what you would end up submitting your resume to. So if I'm an employer, and I'm going to go back to my accounting example, and I've posted this accounting job, I'm going to put in that system that I want it to pull out resumes that have the words accounts payable, accounts receivable, tax accounting, cost accounting, those type of things. So I'm going to put in some keywords that I want that system to pull out only those resumes. Okay. And so if you have experience, but you just didn't pull out certain words and put those in your resume might not ever even be seen because that system is never going to pull it out. Okay. And what can really mess up that system in reading it is if you have a crazy font, like a Blueberry 20 font. I don't know, but if it's just a crazy font or if your format's just all over the place, that system is not going to pull out your resume. Okay, so be very aware of that. Number 7 is another key component that I always tell students about too, is use the thesaurus to capture defiant words. So I'll hear it all the time. Oh, Miss Kirby, I have really great communication skills. That's perfect. And yes, you do. But on 90% of the resumes, it's going to have a bullet point there that says great communication skills. So how can we really change that up to where it's going to be different and it's going to be a little bit more specific and pull out your resume a little bit quicker? Okay, so we go to the thesaurus and we start searching these different words. What else can we use for the word communication? Or what else can we use for the word teamwork? And let's make that a little bit more interesting than just a word that an employer or a university is going to see every single solitary second. So that one's a really good key one to keep in mind. Number 8 is the same thing. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see on resumes is tenses. Watching your tense. Of course, current job, present tense, or if I'm currently at Cleveland State, present tense. My past employer or maybe my past high school experience, any awards I got in high school, those are in the past. Those need to be having what we would always say an ED. So at the end for the most part. So again, if I'm here at Cleveland State, let's say I'm coordinating virtual events. Okay. But in my previous job at Cleveland High School, I coordinated. So I'm adding that ED. Definitely didn't do virtual events, but I coordinated different events. So just make sure you're watching that. And a lot of times students just don't catch it because they're putting in those bullet points and they're forgetting the simplest thing as watching a tense. Again, that is very, very common mistake. Number 9 is going to talk about what is a LinkedIn profile. And hey, guys, this is huge. We're seeing them kind of requested and being really important to have on resumes, even more so important to have when you're looking at going to a university, is having a really good LinkedIn profile. So it is the social media professional platform that you get on, you create your profile, you put on there your skills, your qualifications, what college you're going to, and you can start networking and making sure you network with employers that you might be interested in working at one day, or you can start connecting with universities that you're interested at in going to. So it's a really awesome way, and it's professional, to kind of get yourself out there. And again, it's something that you can keep updated as you're going along. All right, our last thing is going to talk about resume builders and career portfolios. I'm going to try to show you that at the end here in just a second. But we do have a Cleveland State job board. And on that job board, of course, you can search for jobs. What happens is employers post a job opening on there. And it's specific for Cleveland State students because they have to put that job on this platform. We're going to show you that here in a second. But also on that job board platform, there is a spot there to help you create a resume if you literally just don't know where to start. There's a whole kind of builder in there that'll help you get going and help you figure out what you need to have on that resume. And there's also what's called a career portfolio. You might hear about this in certain classes, like an art class or education class, but it's really important just for everybody to have. Again, is I can keep up with any awards that I get or any type of certification that I'm getting. Or if I was in the paper for the Dean's List, I can keep up with that. Okay. So I'm going to show you that here in just a second. These are going to be some links to some of the best websites to help with resumes, to help with those career advice. This third one is going to say 20 best resume tips, tricks, and hacks. It's probably one of my favorite links to send out to students that are really just struggling on getting that resume to look different and to stand out. But the last one is we're going to cover our job board in our last final minutes here. But I do want to say, and I'll cover this at the very, very end, if you, again, would like access to this slide deck or PowerPoint to have these direct links, then feel free to email me and request that, and I can get that sent out to you. But for a quick, maybe 30 seconds, I'm going to try to show you the job board platform. So again, you as a student have access to this job board, and you will end up, of course, clicking on student, and you should already be what we call uploaded. So every new student is uploaded into the system. Now, you have to activate your account. For the most part, you should automatically be in the system. So it shouldn't take you literally pushing a button to activate it, to have access to what I'm fixing to show you guys. So let me quickly pop in the system here. And again, I'm going in as a student. So what you'll see, it's always going to open up your basic dashboard. And I'm just trying to show you guys here on the left-hand side, all of the different things you can use through the system. Obviously, if you want to search for jobs that have been posted directly on the site, you can do that. But just like we mentioned, resumes, there's a whole group of things here to help you get that resume built or to give you some resume examples. And the biggest one is that career portfolio. There's information on that too to keep up with the experience and volunteer things that you're getting involved in. So you've got it. You've got it in one spot. It almost creates like a folder, and you can email yourself that folder. You can email that folder when you're applying for a job, or the biggest thing we see now is universities. They might request to have like a documentation of things you were involved in or awards that you received. I'm going to go back to my slide here and wrap this up. So again, I'm Sandy Kirby here at Cleveland State, Coordinator of Career Services. My office is on the main Cleveland campus. But there's my email address and my direct phone number. So again, if you would like to have access to these slides, and especially to those links that I shared in the slide before, then just email me and say, hey, Ms. Kirby, I was watching a video on your resume tips. Can you send me those slides or send me those email or websites? My goodness. And I will be more than glad to do that and help you with that. Again, if you do need help looking for a job, or also one of my biggest things is helping students that are looking at their major. They might not be completely decided on their major, and we have a lot of tools to help you get on that right path. So if you need help with either of those things, just reach out to me, give me an email, give me a phone call, and I'll be glad to help you with that. Okay, so I think that should cover today's session. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording and open it up for questions and things at the end.